to the Kuhner Report, 6:06 here on AM 680 WRKO and now on 93.7 HD2. Good morning, Boston. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's bulldozer, 617-266-6868. You can also text us 680-680. Memorial Day weekend is about to be kicked off. It's coming up. We're going to be very busy tomorrow, as you know. Major rally for Justina Pelletier to free Justina. We're going to have the father, Lou Pelletier, on at 7:05 to discuss tomorrow's rally. He will be there. I will be there. Some of the Pelletier family members will be there. Tomorrow is Justina's birthday. And the biggest gift you can give her is to show up in support of her, to free her from the clutches and torture of DCF and send her back to her family and her parents where she belongs. The rally will be tomorrow from 2 to 4 p.m. It will be at the steps of the state capitol. And I can tell you right now, word has gotten out that there will be a rally. The Democrats are nervous. DCF is nervous. Mini-Me's people are nervous. They're going to have their spies, their moles, their agents there to see how big the crowd is. So please, I'm urging all of you, this is for Justina. We can free her. We can put maximum pressure on this corrupt DCF regime. But I need all of you to show up tomorrow, 2 o'clock at the steps of the State House. From 2 to 4 p.m., and I will be speaking as well as Lou Pelletier. Okay, my friends. 7:05, by the way, Lou will be on to talk about how Justina is doing and about tomorrow's rally. Before I get into the hard news of the day, and there's some very important stories out there, as you know, this show has, by the grace of God and thanks to the incredible audience of Kuhner Country, has taken off like wildfire. And what is different about this show, compared to almost any other show in the country, is not just how rapidly and quickly the show has risen, but frankly, this show is not about me, it's not about Brittany, it's not about Cooksey, but ultimately, it's about you, the listeners and members of Kuhner Country. And I've said this from the beginning. This show is about serving you. This show is about creating a movement that I believe may be the last hope for America. A movement to save this country from impending fiscal bankruptcy and moral collapse. And so it's come to my attention over the last couple of days that on the Kuhner Country Facebook page, which, by the way, is a phenomenal page. It is run by Christina Petrus. She does a superb job as the administrator. And, by the way, if it's a one-stop shop. I mean, I kid you not. If you want news, if you want, if you want to have clips, if you want to have links to breaking news stories or important news stories of the day, that's your one-stop shop. I'm serious. All you got to do is go on Kuhner Country, and members of the audience, members of Kuhner Country, just post stories up throughout the day. You want to be completely informed on what's really happening in the world? Honestly, just go to Kuhner Country. So, but let that go. There has been a raging debate on Kuhner Country over the last 3 days over my interview with Mark Fisher on Monday, and the in-studio interview, and then my subsequent interview with Charlie Baker 2 days later. And there are several complaints from some people that, and I want to address it because it's very important, that I was too harsh on Fisher. That's the allegation, is that I was too harsh on Fisher, and frankly, I was throwing softballs, or I was a shill for Baker on Wednesday. And so many people feel that I've betrayed the Tea Party, that I'm somehow now in cahoots or in bed with the establishment. Nothing could be further from the truth. And I understand your concerns, I really do, and so this is why I want to address it, and it's very, very important. What happened on Monday with Mark Fisher was an act of political self-immolation, an act of political suicide, I think, that I've rarely witnessed in politics. The only thing that comes close to me was the Howard Dean meltdown that he had in 2004 when he finished second in the Iowa caucuses when he was expected to finish first, and it was on to New Hampshire, and he goes on stage and just how that complete meltdown. Yeah, the woo, it just, and it just had a complete meltdown. And that basically gave the nomination to Jean-François Pep. Here is what happened. So, because I want all of you to understand exactly the chronology of what took place. As you know, on many of the issues, I'm obviously much closer to Mark Fisher, because he is the conservative candidate, than I am to Charlie Baker. In fact, for about 6, 7, 8, 9 months, I've been getting a lot of flack from the Republican Party and from their operatives that all I do is beat up on Charlie Baker. My position on him is well known. He's a rhino. He's a moderate. I don't agree with him on many issues. Frankly, he's vanilla. He's milquetoast. It's hard to, he's like jelly on a wall. It's impossible to pin this guy on any position. Fisher, to me, and I've had him on twice before that interview on Monday. I had him on twice. And he gave very strong answers. Frankly, I thought he was very good on many of the issues. And I was very favorable. He had 2 interviews on my show. Very favorable, very positive, very sympathetic, because I agreed with him on many of the issues. So here is what happened. And the context, the chronology is everything. Fisher, a couple of weeks ago, at a major press conference in Boston, here in Massachusetts, made the stunning, shocking, bombshell allegations, the political equivalent, essentially, of murder, that he was offered a $1 million bribe. That's the term that he used, a bribe, to get out of the race against Charlie Baker. He said he was approached by several state Republican operatives who offered him $1 million. And in exchange for the $1 million, they said, we just want you to not run against Charlie Baker in the primary. Now, he refused to name the names. Immediately, the state Republican Party released a press release saying, no. It was the exact opposite. Mark Fisher approached us, and he and his lawyer asked us for $1 million. And he would drop his lawsuit, and he would effectively end his candidacy against Charlie Baker. So rather than him being offered $1 million, he asked for $1 million. So it was basically, that's why it was national news. It was he said, she said. Or in this case, it was she said, Kirsten Hughes, and he said, Mark Fisher. She said, he said. Now, everybody's scratching their heads. The entire Republican Party, frankly, looks like a joke. It looks irredeemably corrupt. So one guy's alleging, no, they wanted to bribe me to drop out of the race. The other party is alleging, no, he wanted $1 million to drop out of the race. Nobody knew what to make of it. Nobody. It's one of these things you just almost don't want to get involved. It was bizarre. So, fast forward. I didn't weigh in on it because, frankly, you don't know who to believe at this point. I heard conflicting information from all sides, and I said, this thing is in the gutter. Let the lawyers, let the courts settle this thing. All I said was, it doesn't make the party look good. Period. The party's got egg on its face either way. Fast forward now to last Friday. Last Friday, we had an event scheduled. I was the master of ceremonies for Senator Ted Cruz's father, Pastor Rafael Cruz, in Foxborough at Lafayette House. Many of you showed up, and I want to thank you for showing up. And it was a sort of a mini fundraiser or whatever for a couple of candidates in the Foxborough, Rentham, Attleboro area, and as well to help Ted Cruz's potential candidacy in 2016. And Pastor Cruz was there. He was the headline speaker. I was just the master of ceremonies. By the way, he brought the house down. It was a brilliant speech. Again, let that go. Mark Fisher was at that event. I did not, I was shaking hands, I'm meeting the audience. I did not speak with Mark Fisher. I did not approach Mark Fisher. Brittany can testify to this. Because I was there for the Rafael Cruz headline event and to meet the other candidates and to meet you, the audience. Before the actual event took place, before people began speaking, before we began eating dinner as people were speaking, Mark Fisher approached me. I didn't approach Mark Fisher. He literally approached me. He even grabbed me by the elbow, nicely, politely, and kind of a bit to the side saying, Jeff, I got to speak to you. I said, okay. I said, Mark, what is it? He said to me, quote, I have the two names. I've spoken to my lawyers, and I'm ready now to name the two individuals that offered me or were part of the effort to offer me $1 million. I said, really? He goes, yes, and I want to do it on your show. And not only did he say, I want to do it on your show, it's the key point. He said it's going to be an exclusive to you, the Kuhner Report. I said, both names. He goes, yes. I said, you're going to give me the two names, and you're not going to tell anyone else the two names until you get on my show. He said, you got it. On Monday, I will come on your show, and I will give you those two names. They will be exclusive to you on Kuhner Country on Monday. What time can we do it at? I said, how does 7:35 work? He said, fine. He then said, I want to do it in studio. I said, great. I said, Mark, would 15 minutes suffice for you? He said 15 minutes would be perfect. So, he approached me. I didn't approach him. He told me he was going to give me both names exclusively to us, the Kuhner Country. I'm making news. This man has now made a bombshell allegation of the highest order, $1 million. I have him on the show. He wanted to come in studio. No problem. He comes in studio. Now, he comes into the studio. As I do with everybody that comes in studio, I'm prepped. I've done my background research. I do my job as a journalist. Now, the Boston Globe had a story whereby it's on the record. His lawyer, Thomas Harvey, they call him Tom Harvey, Tom Harvey told the Globe on the record to make Mark Fisher, quote, financially whole, we want $1 million, but we'll settle for $650,000. So the obvious question, you can't avoid the question, is, well, in the Boston Globe, your lawyer is the one on your behalf, and I asked him, was he working on your behalf? He said yes. Did he ask for $1 million? He said yes. He said we're being outrageous, we're being tongue-in-cheek, on and on and on. We weren't really serious. I said, well, it sounded serious to me. Now, the only person asking for money that I can see of on the record is you and your lawyer. And you asked for $1 million, and your lawyer said, I'll settle for $650,000. So I asked him, why? So first he said he wasn't serious. Then when I pressed him, you heard the interview, he said, well, it's for expenses. I said, well, what expenses could amount to $1 million or even $650,000? So I asked him, again, the obvious follow-up question. How much does your campaign cost you? $43,000, he said. Then he went on about the convention. He was slighted at the convention. He then said he needed an extra $25,000 for that. When everything was settled, he said about $100,000. Well, I said $100,000 is a hell of a lot different from $650 or $1 million. Now, my point is this. I don't want to rehash the whole interview. Mark Fisher wanted to come on my show. He came on my show. It was an exclusive in-studio interview. He began to give out the names. He began to give out figures. The numbers didn't jive. His story, in the end, didn't jive. And the reason why it didn't jive was because he kept contradicting himself at every turn. So then he names Steve Allward, who people know in this state as a man of integrity, as a staunch conservative, as a longtime Republican activist. And rightly, the audience was infuriated Because they're saying, well, we know Steve. We don't think Steve would be part of this. Fisher begins to backtrack. He says, well, no, he was just the middleman. The real bad guy is John Cook. And he names John Cook. Now, let me be confessional with all of you in Kuhner country. Throughout that entire interview, because I did not know the two names. He said he was going to announce it on the air, and he did. We were furiously calling both Steve Allward and John Cook to get them on to hear their side of the story. They wouldn't come on. And they wouldn't come on. I don't even put words. They wouldn't answer. I don't want to put words in their mouth. They just would not answer their phone. They just kept ringing and ringing and ringing and ringing. So then I asked Mark Fisher, I said, we usually always have Monday at 8:05. We have Holly Robichaud. Her title is the Lone Republican Columnist. She's a major columnist at the Herald, a big Republican strategist. We have her on at 8:05. She has called in. She's livid. I told him that. She's furious. She has a lot of issues with your story. Do you want to stay on as a courtesy? Or do you want to leave? Because you're done. I mean, you said your piece. You named the two names. And I had him on for 25 minutes, not 15. He said, I'd love to stay on. I'd love to debate Holly. Off air, he confirmed it to me. So then we got Holly Robichaud on. Now, Holly was very angry. Holly really blew her top. Frankly, I thought she was over the top between you and me, but let that go. Holly works with Steve Allward. She speaks to him, what she told me, 5 to 6 times a day. So when she heard that he was involved in this, A, she was shocked, and B, she was convinced it was a libel. This man was slandering someone who was close to her, who she's known for decades. And immediately the audience began to sense that his story was fishy. Fisher was now looking fishy. Now, Fisher then made several other claims. He claimed that he had been very active in Shrewsbury politics. He claimed that he was the town captain for the Mike Sullivan campaign. He claimed that he had been active in Republican politics for years. I didn't put those words in his mouth. That's what he claimed. Now, I'm telling you, believe me, don't believe me, there was no concerted effort to get Mark Fisher. People began calling. This one person called, and I on the Shrewsbury committee. I never saw Mark Fisher, but the person on the air. State Representative Matt Beaton, who Fisher didn't even know the name of properly. He called in. Fisher claimed that he had worked with him for a long time. The representative called in and said, no, that's not true. I only met him once. The people that ran Mike Sullivan's campaign, they called in because the whole state Republican Party was listening to the interview. And they said, no, they called in. I said, no, I'm sorry. I don't know this guy. I've never worked with this guy. In other words, he was caught in lie after lie after lie. And then finally I pressed him on the bribe. And I said, okay, now you're backtracking on everything. Were you or were you not bribed? And then he said, well, one lawyer said it was a bribe. The other lawyer said it wasn't a bribe because they offered me $1 million, but not private bank account, to put it in a campaign account if I was to run for another office. My friends, that's not a bribe. So here was my conclusion. I believe the guy was not telling the truth. And I'll even give you another personal reason why I'm convinced he wasn't telling the truth. Because he told me on Friday that he was going to give me both names exclusive to me. I come in Monday morning, it's in the Globe, he's already named Steve Allward. So he already broke his word to me. So he's not forthcoming with me. So to be honest with you, I don't believe him. Now, the point is this. Whether you agree with me or disagree with me, whether you think Mark Fisher was lying or not lying, I'm just giving you my opinion. Take it for what it's worth. My job is to vet candidates. And in particular, those that want to run under the Tea Party banner. Because, my friends, here's what's going to happen. If we have another Christine O'Donnell, if we have another Sharon Angle, where you have somebody that has not been vetted properly just because they say the right things and check off the box on the right issues, but turn out to be fringy in their views, or fringy in their behavior, or fringy in their comments, who do you think gets blamed? It's not just Mark Fisher. Who do you think goes down when he's exposed to have lied about making a reckless allegation of $1 million being of a bribe? I do. You do. The whole movement does. That's the point. That's why you have to vet him. That's why you have to ask him the tough questions. When you say that someone has offered you $1 million as a bribe to get out of the race, you better have the evidence to back it up. Your credibility better be 110%. He told us, by the way, afterwards he was going to give us all kinds of documents to prove how active he was in Republican politics, in Shrewsbury, on and on, Mike Sullivan's campaign. We're still waiting for him. So, do you want me to just rubber stamp somebody just because they say they're Tea Party? Do you want me to just say, okay, he's a great guy just because he says he's a Tea Party guy? And then we end up having a Sharon Angle or a Christine O'Donnell? And then this candidate under our banner goes down in absolute flames? We would be discredited forever. That's why my job, I would be irresponsible if I don't vet these people properly. Now, going forward now to Charlie Baker. Yeah, I mean, take Rand Paul. When he switched on immigration. And I said, forget it. I criticized him for it. Am I supposed to give Rand Paul a pass just because he's technically, quote, one of us? No. When you make a mistake, or I think you've made a serious error in judgment, it's my job to call you out. Now, going to Charlie Baker. There was no conspiracy to protect Charlie Baker. God is my witness. We had him scheduled for Tuesday. I think he could have come on, but let that go. His people said he was too busy Tuesday morning. He had to reschedule for Wednesday. Anyway, like he couldn't take 5 minutes. But again, I digress. So I talked to Charlie on Tuesday after the show. And I asked him point blank about Mark Fisher. He told me no comment. He doesn't want to comment. And he said the reason why is this. It has nothing to do with me. It's between, and he's right on this, it's between Mark Fisher and the state Republican Party. So there's no comment. Now look, let me be candid with all of you. Mark Fisher is right on one point. He was shafted, and I said this repeatedly, by the convention and by the state GOP on that ballot, on the ballot on whether there should be a primary. I believe they cooked the books so he wouldn't get the 15% threshold. There's no question about that. And I said it repeatedly, and I even had Joe Battenfeld on. We agreed. There should have been and there should be a primary. And Mark Fisher was right on that. But that doesn't give him the excuse to then make an absolutely reckless, irresponsible, and unsubstantiated, uncorroborated accusation of being offered a $1 million bribe. Because then he looks like a joke, the Tea Party looks like a joke, we look like a joke, and the Republican Party looks like a joke. So then, I had Charlie Baker on Wednesday. And I'll discuss that right after this short break, 6:30 here on the great WRKO. Let's take it to Angela Anderson. Welcome back to the Kuhner Report, 6:38 here on the great WRKO. 617-266-6868 is the number. So, as I said, there's been a raging debate on the Kuhner Country Facebook page that essentially they thought I raked Fisher over the coals, but was basically giving a cream puff interview to Charlie Baker. So as I explained why I asked Fisher the questions that I asked, and basically it was his answers that doomed him, I think. The text lines were running 12, 15 to 1 against him, not because of anything I said, but he basically imploded because of all the claims that he was making that were being rebutted and refuted almost every 2 minutes by the listeners and callers of this show. So we get Charlie Baker on Wednesday. Now, let me be candid with all of you. Charlie Baker is not a big fan of mine. Charlie doesn't like me. For example, Charlie is often in the building. He'll go to WEEI, he'll go to WAAF. Charlie won't swing by here. Charlie is not a big fan of mine. Now, and frankly, I'm not a big fan of Charlie's. He knows that. I know that. We have a cordial, civil relationship, no question about it. We're polite to each other on the phone. But I don't care for his brand of republicanism. He doesn't care for my brand of conservatism. I've said it for the last 6, 8, 9 months. The man is a rhino. He's a squish. He's a moderate. He's good time Charlie. He doesn't stand for anything. He's the ultimate politician's politician. To pin this guy down on any kind of an answer is almost impossible. He just squirms and wiggles and qualifies and nuances. So I had him on Wednesday. I had already asked him the day before, are you going to comment on Fisher? He said, look, why should I comment? It has nothing to do with me. It's between Fisher and the state GOP. Fine. So not to waste your time, I only had 10 minutes with Charlie. My job is to try to get him to answer some questions, because he will most likely be the next Republican nominee and possibly the next governor of the state. And I asked him a series of questions. His answers, to be very candid, were boring. It's typical Charlie. It's milquetoast. It's vanilla. My eyes are going, as he's talking, my eyes are going down. This guy, I'm telling you, this guy is the cure for insomnia. If Charlie Baker, you and I, Charlie, ever want to get into business together, all I got to do is say, give a 10-minute video, listen to Charlie speak, and you're out like a light. Or your money back. Forget pills, forget sleeping pills. Just put Charlie on for 10 minutes, and you're out. You'll sleep like a baby. Okay, but let that go. So I did the interview with Charlie. I asked him about DCF. I asked him about welfare fraud. I asked him about Justina Pelletier. I asked him about Somerville and his policy on amnesty for illegal immigrants. What did we get for the whole 10 minutes? Charlie being Charlie. He's Chicken Charlie. He won't give you a firm answer on anything. Now, the audience, I could just tell through the text line, were just, they were like, boy, is this the best that we can do? Here's Charlie being Charlie. The audience saw right through him. He couldn't even give me a straight answer on Justina Pelletier. All right, here, in case you missed it, okay, here's what it sounded like. Tell me, Charlie, if you were the governor right now, if you were Governor Baker, would you sign an executive order to free Justina Pelletier from DCF? That it went on for 10 minutes like this. And I'll be honest with you, it got boring. I was bored. Because that's what it was for 10 minutes. Blah, 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 blah. It's typical Charlie. Now look, we all know why people are going to be voting for Charlie. Because he has an R beside his name, and frankly, he's not a Democrat. He's not a gangster. He's not a crook. That's it. Honestly, Charlie should just run the more he opens his mouth, the more he alienates people. I would just run and say, I'm not a crook. That's it. You want somebody to manage your state and not have dead children at DCF? You don't want to have children getting raped and killed and missing? I can do it. I am not a crook. That's it. That's all. That's his campaign motto to me. So after 10 minutes, honestly, I couldn't take the guy anymore. Okay, thank you, Charlie. Thanks for coming on. Now, I wanted to open up the floor then to all of you, the listeners. we had then an interview scheduled at 8:05 with Dylan from Cape Cod Cares. To be honest with you, people were outpouring. The generosity was incredible. People said we want to donate money. And before you know it, we did not have a chance to get to your calls because we got swept up in all the money that we were raising for Cape Cod Cares for the troops. Now, maybe we should have gone to the calls sooner. Okay, for that, honestly, I apologize. But in all honesty, there was no conspiracy to prop up Charlie Baker. I've been beating the guy up for the last 6, 7, 8, 9 months. I mean, what else? I mean, I have to say this. It's like some people say we got to be tougher on Charlie. Charlie is going to be Charlie. I mean, the only thing I guess I can do is go to his house, drag him down to the basement, take a club and beat the guy over the head. Just beat him until he gives me the answer I want to give on Justina Pelletier. Or on DCF or on illegal immigration or whatever. Because Charlie gives a political answer to every question. But then if I did that, I'll tell you what exactly everybody would be saying. It's what people have been saying for the last 6 to 9 months. Jeff, you're destroying our only hope to defeat the Democrats. Jeff, nobody's good enough for you. Jeff, you're always angry, Jeff. Jeff, you're always attacking fellow Republicans. Jeff, you're only going to help Martha Coakley or whoever the Democratic nominee is, become the next governor. So, I've been getting blamed for the last 9 months for being too tough on Charlie, for saying that if the Democrats win in November, it's going to be Jeff Kuhner's fault. And then I have Charlie Baker on to just explain himself on certain issues, and suddenly I'm doing a cream puff interview. Suddenly I'm a shill for Charlie Baker and the state GOP. And ultimately what I don't get is this. Honestly. I never offered anybody $1 million. I never asked for $1 million. I swear, I'm the only guy that's clean in all of this. I never asked for $1 million. I never offered $1 million. I never asked for a bribe. I never offered a bribe. And before you know it, everybody's blaming Jeff Kuhner. My job is to get to the bottom of the truth. That's what I owe you. That's my responsibility to you, the audience, whose interests I always put first. I don't serve any political party or any political master. And if you really want me to be ultra honest with you, like I'm in the confessional, I'm with the 53% of Americans. There was a recent poll in which 53% of Americans say they're disgusted with both parties. 53%. It's now a majority. First time. They'd like to see a third party. Amen. And I've been saying this now for at least a year. No, maybe 2 years. I've been telling the Republicans, if you do not fundamentally change, you're gone. You will go the way of the Whigs. It is now time for a new patriotic, populist, and constitutionalist party that will put America first. Both parties to me are extremely corrupt. Both parties to me have betrayed the American people. So let me even be even doubly honest with you. I believe this is the last hurrah of the old guard Republican Party in Massachusetts. The Baker campaign, I believe, is it. Because I'm looking at all of these reformers, Shauna O'Connell, Leah Cole, Jeff Deal, Jim Lyons, Mark Lombardo. They're popping up like everywhere now in the Republican Party. I see it when I do all of these little events across the state. They are sick and tired of the Republican establishment. Their days are numbered. We're tired of holding our nose to vote for somebody because they're just not a Democrat. Those days are over. And I've said this before repeatedly, and I'll say it again. If Baker continues to run the kind of milquetoast vanilla, inoffensive, quote-unquote, moderate campaign that he's running, he's going to lose. He's going to lose like Gabe Gomez lost. He's going to lose like he lost in 2010. He's going to lose like Richard Tessé was lost last time against John Tierney. He's going to lose. Because the taxpayers of this state have had it. They want a fighter. And they deserve a fighter. And Baker, Charlie, is what Charlie is. He's good time Charlie. What have I been saying for the last 6-9 months? Where's Charlie? It's almost like I say that. It's almost like some kind of extraterrestrial came down and abducted Charlie. Charlie, where's Charlie? I can't find Charlie. Well, Charlie showed up on Wednesday. And you know what? Now I know why Charlie's nowhere to be seen, because he puts everybody to sleep. 617-266-6868 is the number. Let me ask all of you this. Double barrel question. Number one, Charlie Baker, do you think his middle-of-the-road milquetoast approach is going to work? Will you vote for him? Will you not vote for him? And number two, do you think that Tea Party candidates should be properly vetted? Do you agree with me that if they're not properly vetted, then this will damage the credibility of the entire Tea Party? 617-266-6868 is the number. Kevin, you're up first. Thanks for holding. You're on the Kuhner Report. Welcome.
Hey, thanks for taking the call, Jeff. No, I don't think Charlie's middle-of-the-road approach is going to work. Unfortunately, I will vote for him because not going to the polls is a vote for the Democrats. And Jeff, as long as we're keeping it honest, I think, what your radio audience listens hears and what the mainstream GOP hears is Kuhner being Kuhner. So I think you're right. You should have opened up the lines so that everybody can hear the people who are, perhaps not happy with Baker, his campaign. It would have been helpful for everybody to hear more than, just you, unfortunately. So take care, Jeff.
Kevin, thank you. Look, you're right. And Cooksey really wants to apologize to everybody. Cooksey went out. He said, listen, that was my call, Jeff. And he said, we will not do that again. We're really sorry about that. Nobody's perfect. I'm not perfect. Cooksey's not perfect. I regret that. We should have opened up the phone lines. You guys are 110% right. Rick, you're up next. Thanks for holding. You're on the Kuhner Report. Welcome.
Hey, Jeff. Thanks for having me.
Hey, Rick.
So I listened to the interview yesterday, and I had kind of the same reaction that you were espousing this morning. The thing that was puzzling to me, and I was sitting in my car thinking, why isn't Jeff following up? Why does this sounds like a Chris Matthews softball type interview, and you didn't really push him into a corner, specifically around Justina Pelletier and that crappy answer you gave,
Yeah, Rick, I'll be very candid with you. I couldn't believe his answers, and I asked myself, if I beat him up some more, because I've been beating him up now for 6 to 9 months, what good is it going to serve? And he's just going to keep saying the same thing. See, Rick, I know him.
Yeah.
Literally, he's going to say the same thing over, and that's how he is. At that point, Rick, I'll tell you what would happen. It would look like I've tied him up, brought him down into the basement, I'm just beating him and beating him and beating him.
Yeah.
And then before you know it, Rick, I'm telling you, everybody's saying, oh, Jeff Kuhner is picking on Charlie Baker, Jeff Kuhner is destroying the Republican Party, Jeff Kuhner is a thug.
Yeah, I get you. He's a politician, but I would have loved to see you at least push him for an answer, instead of this weasel wording type answers you gave, But anyway, it is what it is. We still got.
Thank you so much, Rick. I appreciate your call and your honesty. 617-266-6868. Lori, you're up next. Thanks for holding. You're on WRKO, and welcome.
Hi, Jeff. I'm Laurie, a pretty active member of Kuhner Country.
Hi, Laurie.
Hi. I just wanted to call in just to say right off the bat, I really appreciate the time you're taking this morning to address the entire thing. It's really what was needed. And I, for one, I really appreciate it, and I understand the timeline and the details as you explained it, and, thank you.
Oh, my pleasure. Look, Laurie, I'm not saying this to humor you. This show is about you. This show is about the audience. God is my witness. It's not about me. This show is not about me. It's not about Cooksey. It's not about Brittany. It's about serving you. We're here to create a movement. I believe a movement that is the future. I believe a movement that is the hope of this country. And I am never going to let you guys down. I'm going to be there with you every step of the way. And if I'm wrong, or if I've made a mistake, or if you think I haven't respected you enough or not done my job properly, you call me out on it. Because ultimately, I'm serious. Yeah, I work for you. You don't work for me. I work for you.
I think the page did pretty loudly. But I really appreciate you taking the time to respect that, too, and it's great. And as far as being soft or easier on certain candidates of certain parties, just want you to be rough on everybody. That's what we're looking for. I agree with you that we can't put up a candidate that, is going to go down in flames, as you say. We need to put up candidates that are going to be solid on the issues and speak up and stand on a platform, not fall off and be wishy-washy. But that means you got to be tough on everybody. And I agree, Charlie Baker is the biggest milquetoast that we have out there right now. And just events of the week, I mean, it was just a tough one, that interview.
Lori, look, you mention his name. I'm telling you, I have a reflex reaction. I start like dozing. You just mentioned, it's like he's like my kryptonite. You just mention his name. My eyes start getting sandy, and I'm like, oh, I gotta stay, I'm on the air. I gotta stay awake. Thank you very much for your call, Lori. John, you're up next. Thanks for holding. You're on WRKO. Go ahead, John.
Good morning, Mr. Kuhner. How are you today?
I'm good. How are you, John?
Very well, thank you. I just want to say God bless to all the troops and why we celebrate this weekend. And this is why we're having this discussion, and this is why Mark Fisher gets a voice, and this is why some people, and you stay with me, Tea Party guys, I'm not disparaging the Tea Party, but the last guy that just called up, what would you like Charlie Baker to do? Would you like him to come out like the president did regarding Professor Gates and stick his foot in his mouth before all the facts were known at the very beginning? The answer to that's yes, that's what you wanted. You wanted him to come out like Trayvon Martin with the president. You just want him to come out and open his mouth. He's a prudent thinker. That should mean everything in the world to you. You guys are the folks that put up a candidate that had to defend herself for not being a witch. I rest my case. Okay? Charlie Baker, don't listen to these guys. You're not going to lose these people. Jeff, you kind of ride them a lot, too. I don't know what you're looking for from them, but you have to be kidding me. You guys have to see the forest through the trees here. Fisher's a fraud. I called your show the other morning, and I called him out for what that offer of support was, and he couldn't deny it. And the whole flavor of the conversation changed after that, because he's a bold-faced liar. And then, just in my humble opinion, Jeff, you weren't thinking he was a bold-faced liar until I called, because I listened afterwards, and that's when the lights were going off in your head.
All right, Steve. I know, everybody's mad at me. What did I do? Coach, can you tell me what did I do? Everybody's mad at me. Steve, I'm a shill now. Steve, you're up next. Thanks for holding. Welcome.
Good morning, Jeff, and thank you for taking my call.
My pleasure,
I was the
Steve.
first caller up after that very famous interview that you had, and which Holly Robichaud blew her top. You're absolutely right.
Okay.
I thought your show turned into a tabloid, which nobody deserved, certainly not the prospective voters in this state. Now, that said, I am to the right of Jeff Kuhner. I'm an immigrant like you, and we all know what McGill is. We know what comes out of McGill, and I have a lot of respect for you that you're actually retracting some of the things. Now, that said, I think Charlie Baker is an absolute rhino. There is no difference voting for Charlie Baker or voting for a Democrat. So if we have to lose in this state, we'll lose, but we'll lose with our head up. And ultimately, we're going to take more seats and more places and more conservatives, because that is the way to go. And I hope you're going to stick with that. Now, I understand also there are a lot of Republicans that will go the old way. That party is dead and gone. I am like Nigel Farage in the United Kingdom for the same thing. He's going to win the day after tomorrow, I believe, in England, and we're going to win one day in Massachusetts. Keep up the good work and stay with us, Jeff, because we're following you all the way, and we'll see you on Saturday, sir.
Thank you so much, Steve. For those of you, Nigel Farage is leading the United Kingdom Independence Party. It's a populist nationalist party that is anti-EU and anti-socialist. And they've broken from the Conservatives, and they're doing phenomenally well in England. In fact, these third parties are doing great all across Europe. So the future is already happening in Europe. Enrique, thanks for holding. You're on RKO. Welcome.
Hi, Jeff. Good morning. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you, Enrique?
All right. Hey, Jeff, I want to tell you that I heard the interview with Mr. Baker the other day, and I wasn't satisfied. I'm going to still vote for him as of now, but the answer that he gave you in particular about the Justina Pelletier, I wasn't convinced that was the right answer. He didn't say basically anything. You asked a number of other questions, he didn't respond. I hope he take the advice and changes the way he's conducting his campaign. And I got a piece of advice. When he don't know anything, the only thing he needs to say is, yo no hablo inglés, and he will win Massachusetts.
Thank you for that call, Enrique. Bob, Bill, you're up. Bob,
Hello,
you're up next. Thanks for holding. Welcome.
Hello, good morning.
Hey,
I actually thought both the Fisher and the Charlie Baker interview were pretty good. I enjoyed them.
Oh, really? So you were happy, Bill?
Well, everybody's right. He did kind of blow you off on the Pelletier question, and you did kind of pretend not to notice. But that's okay. I thought the Fisher thing was riveting. I think that is the most unbelievable story.
So, Bill, so you were happy then overall?
Exactly. Before that, I thought Baker was sort of a proven loser, and now I think he has a chance. You know, Republicans used to win in Massachusetts, but you can't be a wild-eyed crusader because that scares away independents and Democrats. You actually need Democrat votes.
Bill, I'm just happy. Hallelujah. Somebody thought I did a half-decent job. Bob, you're up next. Thanks for holding. Welcome.
Jeff, real quick, Charlie Baker gave the same answer the other day that he gave 2 months ago to Howie Carr about LaRoche situation, and I was on the air with Charlie, and he just, his answers go round and around and around, take it straight out of him. But I'm disappointed in Shauna O'Donnell or O'Connor. She hasn't put her name in to run for governor. She would win. That woman has everything going for herself, and I'm really disappointed that she hasn't stepped up to the plate.
Bob, I'll tell you why. Just because she will be running. She has young kids. She wants to wait another 4 years. Trust me, I think she's going to be the next. She will be governor one day. Trust me on this. 617-266-6868. Coming up next, Lou Pelletier. Don't touch that dial.
News at the top and bottom, talk in between.
We shout it and we proclaim it, and this causes people to lose their minds.
This is AM 680 WRKO, Boston.
Welcome back to the Kuhner Report, 7:06 here on the great WRKO and now on 93.7 HD2. 617-266-6868 is the number. My friends, tomorrow, the Kuhner Report, Kuhner Country will be sponsoring a major rally at the steps of the State House, 2 to 4 p.m., to free Justina Pelletier from the clutches and custody of DCF. I will be speaking. We're going to get a couple of state reps, hopefully, to show up. We're working the phones furiously. Tomorrow as well, the father of Justina, Lou Pelletier, as well as some other family members, hopefully, will be there as well, joining us to talk about the rally, to talk about Justina, to talk about the latest events in the Justina Pelletier case, is her father, Lou Pelletier. Lou, thanks so much for coming back on the Kuhner Report, and how are you doing, my friend?
Jeff, thank you so much for having me. It's been a very long, eventful week. And the battle is raging, and you're a great part of it. So thank you so much.
No, it's my pleasure. Lou, that could be my daughter. That could be our child, and that's why everybody's so concerned. Lou, where are you now? What are you doing? Apparently, Brittany tells me you're up on Capitol Hill. You're up on Washington, correct?
Yeah, I just came back from Washington yesterday, and really the mission, we had a better chance to try to put some things together, but it was really the short-term mission of seeing if we can get assistance in freeing Justina now. But there's also a long-term mission, which will be going on, which is really twofold. One is the reason hospitals can take Justina is because at the federal level, the Health and Human Services, formerly run by Kathleen Sebelius, and, she's off with Dorothy in Kansas, actually has in the regulations the same thing that Boston Children's is using, which is to allow anybody who's a ward of the state under DCF care or under foster care to be used as a medical research experiment, to be used as a guinea pig. So number one is to change the federal regulations. Number two is to come up with the Justina law, which basically says if you have a medical diagnosis, some hospital, some doctor, some shrink comes along and says what you have is not medical, but it's psychiatric, we want them to lose their license and ideally go to jail. Because the number of families who've been so greatly impacted by kids being medically harmed, and unfortunately the number that have died because of this crazy situation has to end. And that's why, I may become the spokesperson for all the people who unfortunately have had to go through this nightmare. And as I learned in Washington this week, even one of our own congressmen has had the same battle. And if he wasn't a congressman, he may not have had the results that he would have liked. So it just tells you how this does impact everybody. In fact, what was interesting, and I could see how the tide is turning, it's always been that the only people I could meet face-to-face, other than a rep, was the Republicans. I met again with Michelle Bachmann, who is the sweetest, most darling individual you could ever imagine. We spoke in front of a group on Wednesday. And we've been meeting with other, Republicans. But on Wednesday, for the first time, I actually met face-to-face with a Democrat who happens to be my congressman, Congressman John Larson, who also happens to be one of the senior members, one of the most powerful congresspersons in Washington. I didn't know if I'd get 5 minutes with him, 10 minutes. It was a very last-minute thing. He sat with us for an hour. And from what I'm told, for a congressman to give you an hour, it's almost unheard of. And it was one of the most heartfelt, situations. And I learned he went through his own situation right here in Connecticut. And so, I'm glad we finally had the chance to meet. And he's making some calls, hopefully, to your buddy and mine, Deval Patrick. And I'm hoping that this free Justina could still happen today. Because as we pointed out, right in your state of Massachusetts statutes, under 110 CMR 9.05 for case closure, the department can close cases by administrative decision without court action, which means Deval, John Polanowitz, new DCF Commissioner Aaron Davini, all have the executive power to release her today. So the garbage they keep trying to throw out that they have to go to the courts is just nonsense. So we've been calling them out on that. So, in fact, one of the interesting things this week was on May 19th. Guess who wrote an article about Justina? The one and only Chuck Norris.
Oh, wow, good.
Who owns our kids anyway? And I urge your listeners, you can Google it, you'll find it, and it's just another. And then next week, when we get to the mainstream media side of it, one of your own in Boston, Maggie Harper with the Chronicle, is going to put on something that's going to, I think, really open the eyes up of the people of Massachusetts of what really has been going on, unfortunately, at Boston Children's Hospital and with the mitochondrial community, too. So I urge I'm not sure what date it's going to be on. I know it's on next week. I'm not sure what's the final date of that. So a lot of things are moving. Unfortunately, there's still things that are in slow motion. Getting this reunification plan to get it to be made specific with dates and timelines and so forth. Because after 15 going on 16 months, we've learned that you can't trust anybody. So, when Polanowitz gave us this very vague plan, he still hasn't come back with a, more specific, date-driven, accountable type plan, which is why we're going, straight out until she's released. and we're going to keep up the media pressure, keep up, hopefully the federal pressure, on these people to stop this. And the Army is just going to continue to build stronger and stronger because people, it's nothing against Clive Bundy, but when the government takes children, and that's what they've done, people they've hit the breaking point. And I hear it, and with the phone calls, the emails, the letters, the cards, you can't even imagine the number of people this is happening to across the country every day. We happen to be focused on Boston Children's Hospital because this is where this all started, but it could be at any hospital in any state in the country. It's amazing the power that the hospitals have using DCF to do this medical research. And they know these kids, once you fall into that rabbit hole, unless you're a congressman, senator, or very politically connected, you fall down that deep, dark rabbit hole, and you can never climb out.
We are talking with Lou Pelletier. He is the father of Justina Pelletier. She is still being held captive by DCF, 15 months now, going on 16 months. Lou, I take it you will be there at the rally tomorrow?
You betcha.
Now, Lou, tomorrow, my understanding is it's Justina's 16th birthday, correct?
That is correct. What a way to spend her sweet 16th birthday, but at a psychiatric behavioral facility.
How is she doing, Lou? How is she holding up? How is her health? Is she getting better? Is she getting worse? Is she stabilized?
The one thing that I'll give kudos to, even though she's still at a behavioral modification facility for the first time, and this is this JRI facility in the northeast corner of Connecticut, which from a time frame traveling from our house, because it's in the back roads and backwoods of northeast Connecticut, it literally takes us as long to get there as it would be to get to Framingham, Massachusetts. But the people there, even though it's not the right facility for her, they've changed, for the first time in 15 months, she's not being physically and mentally tortured. For the first time, we're allowed daily visitation. For the first time, she's able to leave the campus there, and she's, my wife and daughters went out for a spa day to get their nails done. She's going to the Southwick Zoo. So, we're trying to, they are trying at least to be part of the solution versus being part of the problem. And they themselves know that she doesn't belong there. But at least they're doing everything within their power to minimize the already exorbitant amount of stress that's been put on Justina and our family. But she needs major, major physical therapy, rehabilitation therapy. She needs really the coordinated medical plan to figure out what damage has been done to her by the treatment. Her legs are still paralyzed. The issues with her stomach, the tachycardia, you name it. There's a long, long road to hoe. And as you can imagine, some of it, is the post-traumatic stress she's dealing with, or going to be dealing with. And do you think she's going to be trusting any psychologist or psychiatrist in the near future? It's going to be, we hear about what the VA people have been going through, it is so sad. Obviously when I was in Washington, that was a big buzz when I was there. And, well, here we go. When government takes over something, you see the results. Whether it's children being taken by DCF and used by hospitals, or the way our veterans are treated by the VA in their hospitals. The government, it is big business. And I saw for myself live and in color I used to go to Washington, D.C. all the time before, over 10, 15 years ago. And basically it was just the city itself, you're from that area. Now you look at the buildup around there, it's no wonder why the government can't step out of its way. It's become a Goliath.
Oh, I know, it's booming. I mean, we still have a home in suburban Maryland, and whenever I go back, Lou, once in a while, you see all these government bureaucrats with their Mercedes, their BMWs, their restaurants are full, everybody's got a job. I mean, it's a Leviathan. It's getting bigger and bigger and bigger by the day.
In fact, when we, because of the tourism going on, all the, the 8th graders that do their bus trips to Washington, D.C., hotel space is at a premium. I was actually the first night staying in Herndon, Virginia. It took an hour and a half to go back and forth. And I guess they say twice as many people work in Washington, D.C. as live there, which tells you all you want to know. I think the problem is it should be the private sector that should be the booming business, not the government sector. But that's a story for another day. But it was interesting seeing the people come up to me that recognized me. It was, we've hit a button because, like you said, this could happen to anybody's child, even congressmen and senators. So, but the battle is not over by a long shot, because as long as the state of Massachusetts has her, and they still do, they have full custody of Justina Pelletier. Until that changes, the battle rages.
Lou, before I let you go, I got to ask you one final question. I know I've kind of asked it before, but it really is the $64,000 question. Why won't Governor Deval Patrick and Health and Human Services Secretary John Polanowitz simply sign the administrative order and let Justina go home where she belongs with you, Linda, and her family? Why are they being so stubborn and so recalcitrant about this?
I just think they're looking for ways to save face. When I just mentioned Kathleen Sebelius, what's happening is I think they're coming up with a new way of backing away from things or removing people. Look at Olga Roche, who was fired, but she really wasn't fired because she was given her 3-month extension. Kathleen Sebelius. I think the government and people in power are so worried about protecting their own rear ends and image. The longer you diffuse something, the longer you hope people will just go away. You figure that time is the greatest ally they have. Whether it's people that are supposed to testify about Benghazi, but all of a sudden have a concussion, so they can't show up and appear, and next thing you know, it's a year plus later, and the people still can't get answers, and it becomes out of sight, out of mind. And I think the government philosophy is if we can just delay things as long as we can, because they know what they've done is wrong. They know this whole injustice that's going on. I've been, with everyone but Deval Patrick face to face, and I can see the look in their eyes. But they become caught up in this bureaucracy that it's about protecting the rear end, And obviously, I'm going to keep saying it, as in this case, there's a backer of all this, and that's Harvard, Boston Children's, because the liability they're under for what they've done to my daughter, as you can imagine, is pretty outrageous. So and everyone we deal with somehow has, from Deval Patrick on down, has a Harvard connection. You were talking about Charlie Baker, and I hope he's not talking about it for this reason. But again, who is he? Where did he go to school, and who did he work for? Harvard Pilgrim Healthcare. He has a Harvard connection. It's like the good old boys club. They just circle the wagons to protect themselves. And again, there's no way to verify it one way or the other, but you have to wonder if ultimately, it's to protect, God's oldest institution, Harvard. And so I'm hoping that calmer and clear-thinking heads prevail, and they'll stop this nonsense and stop it. But it's, when people dig their heels in to protect their rear ends, they will do whatever they can. And you've seen it. You've been around the track a little bit. You've seen what goes on in Washington, D.C., how the cover-ups and things go on, whether it's at the federal level or at the local level. This stuff happens. And so you just have to be persistent. That's why we've been the canary in the coal mine regarding Justina. We're the ones that have, unfortunately, we've had the fortitude to fight through this, to go through, breaking gag orders, to do whatever it is to make the public aware of it to the degree that they've never been made aware of this before, even though this has been going on for at least 20 years. So sometimes you've got to be a groundbreaker. You've got to do things that other people don't want to do, and it doesn't come. Look at all the whistleblowers across the country. Most of them aren't rewarded. They're blasphemed. They're thrown into jail, whatever it might be, just because whoever they whistleblowed on, doesn't want them doing that. So it's really no different here. When you're like I said, a groundbreaker, people aren't always happy campers that you're doing it. But when you're fighting for your child, just as you said, Jeff, many, many times, you would do the same thing. You do what you have to do, and that's what I'm doing.
Lou, how has this been, emotionally, psychologically, physically? How has this been for you, your wife, and your daughters?
Oh, you can't even imagine the stress that's been put on our family. Everything you do, are you doing the right thing? I was talking to somebody yesterday about when I first broke the gag order. That was a major decision. Not that I was worried about myself going to jail or whatever they might do. I didn't, I'm a big boy. I can handle myself. But there was the question of what repercussions might there be to Justina. So some of my other daughters were quite concerned about me breaking the gag order. So that, of course, as you can imagine, of a house of females, it became pretty, it was not an easy decision to make, but I followed my gut and said, we've got to stop this somehow. And I think, we have the court of law, and we've seen how slow and corrupt that is. Then we have the court of public opinion. And I just felt the only chance that Justina has is to get this out in the court of public opinion. And thank God I did it, because who knows what Justina's situation would be today. But there's just stress galore, the travel, the financial stress, because I've been fighting this for 16 months. And I'm a financial planner. I do Medicare planning for people 65 and older. But this is a full-time job. I recall listening to you, the preparation you do for your show, getting up at 2 in the morning and so forth. Well, it's no different for me. I'm eating, drinking, and sleeping ways to stop this and deal with this whole bureaucracy and everything else. And it's time consuming. It's just you can't ever, every waking moment or even when you're in bed, all you're thinking about is how do you stop this criminal injustice, this torture that's going on to my daughter, and unfortunately to so many other daughters and sons across the country. This is the United States of America. I had a doctor from India who came up to me, who India is not exactly thought of as a civil rights country, yet if they did that in India, you as a parent can just walk in there and take your child out with no repercussions. So for India to have, better civil rights, at least regarding this, than the United States does, I think speaks a mouthful. So, again...
Incredible.
It is incredible. And that's why, as I keep, Reverend Mahoney came up with the term, canary in a coal mine. When you're the one, that's making people aware of what's going on, the poisonous gases that are leaking in, and this is what it is. It's making people aware that we are still the greatest country in the world, but we got to fight for it, because you and I have been around for a while, and we've seen the changes that have occurred. And part of it is just people are becoming, how many people read the paper anymore? How many people really pay attention to the news anymore? It's changed dramatically in the last 20 years. I've always been a news junkie. I've always read. I love history. That's one of I was telling my daughter, every time we go to Washington, we don't have time to sightsee. I'd like, in Smithsonian Institute, I still haven't seen the World War II memorial. And I told my daughter, we are going to go, do that. But people just, they get caught up in their own lives now, and whether it's, reading or paying attention to what's going on in the news or paying attention to history, to me, and I see it, with people in general, because I deal with people every year who are turning 65, and I see the mindset of the 65-year-old now versus the 65-year-old 10 or 20 years ago. And I don't know what the magic answer is, but sometimes all this technology and social media, who knows? We are going through a change, but hopefully people know how to use it and use it for good, both for learning and spreading the word or whatever it might be. But we are fighters. We've gone through a tremendous onslaught, obviously for our daughter and for our family. But my wife is of Eastern European stock. She's from the Czech Republic, Prague, and I'm a good old French Canadian, and we don't give up.
All right, well, Lou, to everybody out there, Lou will be there tomorrow along with Lou. Are one of your daughters going to be there as well?
Yeah, Jessica will be there. That was, again, you talk about the inner battles going on. Having the birthday party purposely set at the same time, roughly as the rally. But I'll be at the rally, and as soon as the rally's over, I'll hightail it over to the northeast corner of Connecticut, and I will be there for the end of the birthday party.
Please, all of you out there, members of Kuhner Country, Lou will be speaking. Jessica Pelletier, his daughter, Justina's sister, will be there. I will be speaking. Please come out in big numbers. Show your support. Tomorrow is Justina's birthday. Let's give her the best birthday gift possible. Let's go out and put as much pressure on Deval Patrick and John Polanowitz and DCF and bring this girl home. Lou, I look forward to seeing you tomorrow. God bless you, buddy. Safe travels, and I'll speak to you tomorrow, my friend.
Jeffrey, God bless you, and God bless all your listeners. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Lou. Again, tomorrow, Sunday, May 24th at 2 p.m. at the steps of the State House. Major rally to free Justina Pelletier. Please come. Bring your family members. Bring your friends. Bring as many people as you can. We need to show the people who run this state. They're not their children. They're our children, and we're taking them back. 617-266-6868, 731 on the Great RKO. Let's take it to Angela in the Newton. Welcome back to the Kuhner Report, 739 here on the Great WRKO, 617-266-6868. Apparently I misspoke just before the break. I think I said the rally was going to be held on Sunday. My bad. The rally is tomorrow, Saturday, May 24th. It will begin at 2 p.m. Please, as many of you, if you can show up, I would really appreciate it. Justina would appreciate it. Her family will appreciate it. If you can, please show up. Let us show the people at DCF and in the mini-me regime that they don't own our children, that our children belong to us. And this could be your daughter. This could be your son. And we have to now draw a line in the sand. And they're on the ropes. They're worried. They're in a panic. They know that they're wrong on this case. And if we keep pressing, my friends, if we keep shaming them, they will back down. 617-266-6868. Tomorrow, Saturday, May 24th, I will be speaking at the rally. Lou Pelletier will be speaking at the rally. We believe Reverend Mahoney will be speaking at the rally. We're also going to try to get one or two state representatives. Please, Boston, Massachusetts, Kuhner Country, let's show up in big numbers. And joining me now, you want to talk about somebody who puts his community first. We raised for the troops in Cape Cod. Cape Cod Cares for the Troops. I'll also be holding another event on Sunday to honor our troops, Memorial Day weekend, by sending supplies to our troops overseas, especially those in Afghanistan. Bill Kelly, incredibly, has now pledged $2,000. He started this thing going. And then because of your incredible response, Kuhner Country, when Bill Kelly put down $2,000, we have now raised over $5,000 just from Kuhner Country alone for Cape Cod Cares for the Troops. And I'm now joined by the one and only Bill Kelly. Bill, how are you, my friend?
Great. How you doing, Jeff?
I am good. Bill, I can't believe it. You started the ball rolling. Honestly, I would have just been happy with a couple $100. You came in with $2,000. You said that, if people raise $2,000, you'd match another $2,000. They have raised $5,000, Bill, inspired by you, my friend.
Okay, so we owe you $2,000 more. We would love to make that check out to Cape Cod Cares for the Troops. Is that right, Jeff?
Yes, Cape Cod Cares for the Troops.
Okay. I mean, I'm so happy to write this check. I mean, it's going to be a great event for us to send it up there, and we're pleased to have to write it. It shows the strength of, your listeners, WRKO in general, and especially your listeners, Jeff. It's amazing. Your guys, when you say, here's what we have to do, they get it done, apparently, Jeff.
Well, Bill, I got to say, though, I mean, really, you were the one that got the ball rolling. People couldn't believe how generous you were. Bill, I just want to, because you're a very humble guy, obviously a man of your immense success. It's rare to find somebody of your humility. I'm being candid with you. Bill, look, you don't have to give money. And you're very humble. You won't say it. You give to a lot of charities. You help with a lot of people in the larger Boston, greater Boston area. You help feed the poor. You help take care of the underprivileged. People who are in need go to Bill Kelly. Why? Why do you continue at your age with your level of success? Why does Bill Kelly care?
Well, we have a school close program for Martin Luther King Center the Sunday before Labor Day each year to get these kids school closed because really, Jeff, some of them are underprivileged. They're behind the eight ball. They're minorities and, they're going to school. And that first day of school, we all have that feeling, well, geez, who's going to wear what? And you're ironing the shirt, you're getting ready. These kids don't have the clothing. So Kelly and I started that charity on our own 4 years ago. We get all the kids who want to get there from Martin Luther King Center. We get them at Old Navy the Sunday before the first day of school, and we give them each $80 to $100 for the families and make sure they have a new outfit for school. And what's the reason for that? Because, Jeff, I was there. I didn't have we had a rag bag, we had a sock bag, and we had different clothing we had to piece together. And you go to school the first day, you feel kind of strange. So if we can get these kids a little boost, Project Hope in Dorchester, Sister Margaret at Project Hope in Dorchester, Jeff, she houses women who would otherwise be homeless with children, helps them to get a job. They get jobs. She makes sure they get fed. We sent over Easter dinner. We took all the families shopping so they'd have an Easter outfit. And then Terry, our concierge in Braintree, her daughter and her put together Easter baskets for all these families so they can have an experience, Jeff. They can have an experience like we took for granted later on in life. And so the troops needing a toothbrush, Jeff, all I have to do is write a check. I'm getting off easy, Jeff, really.
Bill, I can't thank you enough, my friend. You have any plans for Memorial Day weekend?
We're going to have some family down. Kelly's getting back from a trip she took for studying up on what we do, and she does that so well. But we're going to have some friends over. I wish I could be with you. I'm going to write the check for $2,000 more. I'll get that over to you today. Is that good, Jeff?
That's wonderful, Bill.
So that's $2,000 more from Kelly.
Bill, I can't tell you how much we appreciate it. The troops appreciate it. People at Cape Cod Cares for the Troops, they appreciate it. Bill, you're an incredibly generous man. And I'm going to pass on your best to the troops when I see them in Cape Cod. And I know they're going to want to pass on their best and their gratitude and their thanks to you, my friend.
Well, okay. And folks, folks want to give more, Jeff, let us know, or keep this thing going. And God bless you. And thanks for helping the people that protect us and help us to stay free here in America. Thanks a million, Jeff.
Thank you so much, Bill, and have a great Memorial Day weekend, my friend.
Okay.
God bless you.
Yep. Okay, bye.
617-266-6868 is the number. Tomorrow, a rally for Justina Pelletier at the steps of the State House, the State House of Representatives, the state legislature. I will be there at the steps along with Lou Pelletier, Reverend Mahoney. We're going to probably get one or two state reps. Let's bring down the thunder, my friends. Let's show the people who run this corrupt state. Here is our line. You cross it at your peril. Will you be there? Will you show up? Can you make it to the rally tomorrow? 617-266-6868. Lines are loaded. Gary, you're up next. Thanks for holding. Welcome.
Good morning, Jeff, from the Tea Party terrorists. There's no place I'd rather be tomorrow than fighting for the cause. And my 6-year-old daughter can't wait to meet you. It's going to be a pleasant experience for her. I'm just calling today on just a few notes, Jeff.
Sure.
As far as the Charlie Baker thing goes, like I said, Jeff, you're the skunk in the room again, Jeff, telling the truth. Even the Republicans don't want to hear it. I'm about as independent as you can be. I can't stand any of the Republicans. But Charlie Baker is Charlie Baker. It's like expecting something positive from Obama. You're just not going to get it. Now, I think Fisher, he might have just concocted this idea maybe, but he didn't understand the power of Kuhner country, and we vetted him on it, Jeff, and I think that's exactly what happened there.
Thank you so much for that call. And, Gary, I look forward to seeing you and your wonderful 6-year-old girl.
You too, Jeff. One more quick thing.
Sure.
Is I know everyone's upset that you guys went to the donations for the vets after that. Shame on them, Jeff. I had much more fun donating my money to the vets that day, laughing on the air, than any conversation I could have ever had with Charlie the Tuna.
Gary, I got to tell you, you were hilarious. When you said the way they're printing money, money's becoming useless, worthless. So you're going to cut a check for $250 before it becomes completely worthless. You had me on the floor, buddy.
Jeff, I've been telling people this for years. They don't understand. You keep it in your retirement, you're losing money. But that's a topic for another day, my friend. I'll see you tomorrow.
See you tomorrow, Gary. God bless you, my friend. 617-266-6868. Patrick, you're up next on WRKO. Go ahead, Patrick.
Hey, my friend. I'll see you tomorrow.
Patrick, you got to turn down your radio. Eric, you're up next on Kuhner Country. Welcome.
Good morning, Jeff. How are you, my friend?
I'm good. How are you, Eric?
Not too bad. First of all, I want to say that Bill Kelly there, he is a class act. There's a special place up there for people like him. That was a wonderful gesture that he did for the troops. Another thing on the troops, when you guys go to those Memorial Day parades on Monday, make sure those hats come off when the American flag goes by and the hands go over the heart before or the salute goes up, because that's really important.
Yes.
Not enough people do that.
Yes.
Another quick question on the Justina thing, and believe me, I'm just kind of confused on this. She's supposedly in Connecticut now, correct?
Yes.
How come? So why does Massachusetts have priority or have any authority over Connecticut making any kind of a decision on this at this point? If she's in Connecticut, why can't Connecticut just make a decision on this?
That's a $64,000 question. Everybody's sitting on their hands and knees. The governor of Connecticut could step in. They're technically residents of Connecticut, and the governor could stand up to DCF and in Massachusetts and say, no, we don't respect your jurisdiction anymore into Connecticut. The problem is it's tied down in the courts, and nobody wants to run. It's the excessive deference that we pay to the courts. And so because there's still a legal proceeding going on in Massachusetts whereby a Massachusetts judge has said that DCF has permanent custody over Justina, they've granted permanent custody of Justina to DCF, nobody wants to move. So Deval Patrick's sitting on his hands. John Polanowitz is sitting on his hands. Charlie Baker, you heard him on Wednesday. You can't affect the legal process. We have a legal process. The governor of Connecticut doesn't want to move. Nobody wants to move. And this judge is taking his own sweet time. He's playing God. And she's literally rotting away day after day after day. And that's why sometimes you need people power. Sometimes people have to say enough is enough. We need good old-fashioned civic participation. And that's what you're going to see, hopefully, tomorrow. We are now the new civil rights activists of the 21st century. And that's why they fear us. And that's why I'm telling you, I don't care if Deval Patrick's on vacation this weekend. I don't care if Polanowitz is at Cape Cod stuffing his face this weekend. Their minions are going to be watching. Their cronies are going to be there. They're going to want to see. This is a test. They want to see how serious the opposition and the resistance is to this regime. So tomorrow, 2 o'clock at the steps of the State House, my friends, let's show them. And let's show them good. Andrea, you're up next. Thanks for holding. You're on WRKO. Shoot, Andrea.
Jeff, I just wanted to tell you that I'm going to be there tomorrow for Justina's rally, and my husband will be there. And I just wanted to tell you and the listeners that this is really not my thing. I'll call representatives and politicians and call talk radio, but I'm not the type to run around going to rallies and that type of thing. But I'm going to this one, and I want people who think, oh, that's not my thing, to rethink it and to come tomorrow. And also to let everyone know it may be raining, it may just be cloudy. Come anyway. Who cares about that? Wear a hat, wear a raincoat, and I just want to encourage everyone to come.
Thank you, Andrea. And I look forward to seeing you and meeting your husband. 617-266-6868 is the number. Coming up next, Chief Spreading Bull. I swear I couldn't make this up. Elizabeth Warren now has come out and said the Redskins' name, it's got to go.
And now, dating tips from Mark Levin. Number 1. Always make her feel comfortable with lines like,
we're not interested in timidity. We're interested in some courage.
Let her know where you stand.
What is the end game here?
And be ready to offer encouragement when necessary.
What the hell are you doing? You're making excuses because you're scared. You're scared of doing the right thing.
Weeknights at 7.
What is your end game here? The end game's right now.
On AM 680 WRKO.